Hey everyone! Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're diving into a topic that might just change the way you look at one of the most influential books in history, the Bible. We're talking about the top 5 most disturbing Bible verses and what they really mean. Our number 5 pick comes from Deuteronomy chapter 20 verses 16 and 17. However, in the cities of the nations the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance, do not leave alive anything that breathes, completely destroy them. Whoa. This verse and others like it are some of the most difficult passages in the Bible to reconcile with a loving God. The Israelites, who had faced their own share of persecution, were promised a land, Canaan, already inhabited by other people. This verse reflects the brutal realities of ancient warfare, where total conquest was often the norm. But even considering the historical context, it's hard to ignore the violence described. How do we reconcile this with the God of love and mercy we often hear about? Some scholars argue that these verses are symbolic of the spiritual battle between good and evil. Whatever your interpretation, there's no denying that this verse is deeply unsettling. Next up at number 4 is Matthew chapter 10 verse 34. Do not suppose that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. Wait, what? Jesus, the Prince of Peace, saying he didn't come to bring peace? This verse challenges the simplistic image of Jesus as an always smiling, endlessly forgiving figure. The sword Jesus refers to isn't a literal weapon. It represents the division and conflict that can arise when truth challenges deeply held beliefs. Standing up for what you believe in, even when it's unpopular, can create friction. This verse highlights the cost of discipleship. It's a reminder that following Jesus isn't about passive acceptance, but about actively engaging with the world and fighting for what's right. So yeah, Jesus wasn't just about peace and love, he was also about truth and justice. Coming in at number 3 is Exodus chapter 21 verses 20 to 21. If a man beats his male or female slave with a rod and the slave dies as a direct result, he must be punished. But he is not to be punished if the slave recovers after a day or two, since the slave is his property. This one is particularly tough to stomach. It's a stark reminder of the brutality and injustice of slavery, a practice that was sadly prevalent in the ancient world. How could any human being be considered another person's property? How could such violence be tolerated, even condoned? The Bible wasn't written in a vacuum. It was written in a time and place where slavery was an accepted part of society. This verse, while abhorrent to us now, reflects the laws and customs of that era. However, even within that context, this verse is deeply troubling. It highlights the dehumanizing nature of slavery, reducing human beings to mere possessions. This verse serves as a stark reminder of how far we've come in terms of human rights and the dignity of all people. At number 2 we have Psalms 137 verse 9, Blessed is the one who seizes your infants and dashes them against the rocks. Alright, this one is just straight up horrifying. This verse comes from a psalm, a song or poem expressing deep emotions. In this case, the psalmist is pouring out their rage and grief, likely in response to the Babylonian exile. It's essential to understand that this verse isn't a command or an endorsement of violence against children. It's an expression of anguish, a cry of pain from a people who have suffered unimaginable loss. Even so, the imagery is undeniably disturbing. This verse serves as a stark reminder of the devastating impact of war and oppression. Finally, our most chilling verse comes from 1 Samuel chapter 15 verse 3. Now go and strike Amalek and devote to destruction all that they have. Do not spare them but kill both man and woman, child and infant, ox and sheep, camel and donkey. This is it, the verse that often tops the list of the most disturbing passages in the Bible. The Amalekites were enemies of the Israelites, and this command reflects the total warfare practices of that time. However, the sheer totality of the destruction described is difficult to comprehend. Many scholars believe that this verse, in its historical context, was likely hyperbole, meant to emphasize the seriousness of the threat posed by the Amalekites. Regardless of its historical interpretation, this verse remains deeply troubling. It forces us to confront the dark side of human nature, our capacity for violence and cruelty. How can we square such a command with the God who calls us to love our enemies? So what can we take from these disturbing verses? They highlight the struggle between faith, morality, and human experience. They challenge us to think critically about ancient texts in the light of modern values. Let me know in the comments what you think. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more content. Until next time.